What's up, guys? So today we're taking a look at what I would consider the best bang for the buck 4K gaming monitor that you can buy right now in 2023. Now, I have kind of gone through every type of monitor that you can possibly buy for a gaming experience. So I've started out with like 1080p 60 hertz just to get off the ground running with a gaming setup, going up to, let's say, 170 hertz with a 1440p 27-inch gaming monitor, and most recently, the ultra-wide 3440 by 1440p gaming monitor that you see behind me. But I wanted to step up my gaming experience with a 4K setup, especially since I got my hands on an RTX 4080. I really want to take full advantage of that card in titles like Cyberpunk 2077 or Elden Ring, and also maybe clock down some settings in some other games, maybe some faster paced games like Valorant or Call of Duty or Apex Legends, and really take advantage of a bigger display with the 32-inch form factor versus an ultra-wide setup, which doesn't always work depending on the game that you're playing. So let's get this thing unboxed and go through the overall, unboxing experience of this 32-inch Dell gaming monitor, what comes in the box, how the ergonomic setup is like with the included stand, everything spec-wise about this monitor. So once we open this Dell G3223Q gaming monitor, we're greeted with a few different items to start. So you have the base of our stand, we have all of the cables, and then we have some documentation as well. First things first with the stand, it's got this kind of satin gray finish to it that is extremely nice, with some mimics of the pattern on the back of the display as well around the center part of the stand. Overall, it's kind of a mixture of plastic and aluminum, but it feels very sturdy. With this documentation, we're getting all of our Delta E numbers with a Delta E under 2, which is extremely good for color accuracy, being that it is 95% DCI-P3 color coverage and 99% sRGB. You also can take a look at all of the uniformity within the colors of this display. And we're looking at a 600 nit peak brightness and a 400 nit kind of sustained brightness for display HDR 600 support. So with these cables, we're looking at an HDMI, a USB for the internal USB hub, and then a DisplayPort 1.4 cable, as well as the power cable. So now that we have the second part of the unboxing experience done, we get the rest of our stand. So we can see we're definitely going to get some really good vertical height adjust with this monitor arm. And we should get some other pretty good ergonomic functionality as well out of this stand. So it's just one of those ones that just clips right in. You can see on the back of this display, there is some ventilation so that you can actually pull in air through the back of the monitor and really suck in and cool the back of this display down, being that it is pumping out 32 inches of 4K resolution at 144 hertz. And the bottom's completely toolless, so you have this hand tightened screw. You can, of course, use a screw to tighten it down completely, but I love how the accents within the stand are mimicking that within the monitor. Overall, it just looks really, really nice. It's very much an aesthetically pleasing stand with the matte gray finish. So there you go. We have all of our display connectors as well. Two HDMI 2.1, one DisplayPort 1.4. We also get that USB hub with two USBs and a mic headphone combo jack. And then for the on-screen display, we get both a nipple for navigation and then a few different preset buttons as well. So for the ergonomics, we're looking at 100 millimeters of height adjust, around 5 degrees of negative incline or negative rotation, and then 21 degrees of upwards rotation, and then around 30 degrees of side to side rotation. So overall, the stand is very, very nice from an ergonomics perspective, but I am going to throw this thing onto a monitor arm. So we do, of course, have our VESA compatibility with a back mount as well. You get this really, really nice subtle blue glow around the edge of the back of the display. I'm never going to personally see it, but overall it looks pretty cool. And now it's time to test out the on-screen display that comes with this Dell monitor. So from an overall perspective, we're looking at a few different menu settings, but it can all be guided through the nipple navigation. So you got preset modes for your different, of course, game modes, creator modes, things like that, just to get the pure color accuracy and brightness and contrast set for whatever situation you want to use this monitor in. We have some game mode and enhances that you can, show the FPS on screen. Of course, AMD FreeSync Premium Pro, response time, dark stabilizer, console mode if you want to kind of shift over and use it with an Xbox or a PlayStation. From brightness and contrast, again, 400 nit sustained brightness, 600 nit peak brightness for that HDR 600 support. There aren't any backlight dimming zones. It is an edge lit LED display, being that it is a fast IPS monitor, but it still does a pretty good job of display HDR600, which I'll show you in a little bit. One of the other really nice features of this monitor is picture in picture and picture by picture. So you can set a couple different presets, being 50-50 split between two different displays, 75-25, 25-75, and then so on and so forth, as well as picture in picture. So you can have a small picture display within the larger display as well. Some audio settings, some basic menu settings, personalization setup, so you can change the shortcut keys on the side of the monitor to do something different. You can change the power button functionality, the lighting on the back, whether you want it on or off. So some really cool little functionality that you can adjust with the actual hardware on this monitor. And then we have some other functionality as well with this on-screen display that gives you some more control over things like firmware, LCD conditioning, even a self-diagnostics tool that allows you to run through the actual diagnostics test that Dell runs through to test out the Delta E and things like that. So we can see the gray uniformity of this particular display. Overall, it looks pretty good. You do have some of that kind of dark edges where you are getting the LED backlight. You can, of course, see the red uniformity, green uniformity, and blue uniformity as well, so that you can really get a good idea of how well this monitor does with color accuracy. We also have then a 4K text kind of reading test that comes in right after this that allows you to see the actual readability of font on this particular display. And you can see it's running at that 3840 by 2160 at 144 hertz. So yeah, overall, there's some really cool functionality built into this display that gives you kind of full control over this monitor. And from a response time and refresh rate perspective, you can see there's very little ghosting with our UFO test, both on the front edge and the trailing edge of our UFO. So it's going to be a really competitive gaming monitor, even though it is at this 4K resolution. So like I mentioned, display HDR600 support, meaning that you do have that peak brightness of 600 nits. And when we compare in a game like Cyberpunk 2077 between HDR on and HDR off, so on the left side of the screen, we have HDR on. Over on the right, HDR off. It's maybe not the best representation of HDR that I've ever seen. Again, it's HDR 600, so it's not the brightest display. Doesn't really have any local dimming zone, so it's not going to have that pure pop where you're going to get some really good color accuracy and brightness, like that great peak brightness in a particular portion of the display. But you can see where it's darkening images or darkening portions of the image over on the left side of the display, where it's really not doing that to a great amount on the right side where we don't have HDR turned on. So again, it's not the best iteration of HDR in a gaming monitor, but at $600 with this 4K setup, it does look really good. The colors are amazing with that 95% DCI-P3 color coverage. Overall, very little complaints about the color accuracy and just overall resolution and quality of this monitor. And then when it comes to more of like a fast-paced, fetch-twist shooter like Fortnite, the 144 hertz refresh rate with the 1 millisecond greater gray response time just feels awesome to the touch. Yeah, there's no real lag or anything when it comes to this monitor, even at that 4K resolution. So you might not be able to pump out that full 4K like I am not able to right here, getting closer to 110 or 120 FPS, but G-Sync compatibility and FreeSync Premium Pro with this monitor allow you to not worry about having the perfect refresh rate with this display, but allowing the monitor to adjust to whatever the refresh rate is that your gaming computer or console is outputting for your display. So overall, I'm extremely impressed by this Dell monitor. It's not the newest 4K gaming monitor. It's not OLED. It's not QD OLED, but it is still an extremely functional and good 4K gaming monitor, especially at the current price of $600. So if you guys are interested in getting your hands on this monitor, I will leave a link down in the description below. Any questions or comments, leave those down there as well. And if you haven't already, get subscribed to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.